Hello and welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and you need to go support this podcast on Patreon right now. The link is in the description of this chat. Thank you. This chat is with Keika Lee, a producer and founder of Greyscale Animation, known for its viral short, Odd Dog, and upcoming Oren's Way. In our chat, she shares how she went from the production side of things, from studios like Electronic Arts and DreamWorks, to founding her own animation studio, including how she's funded her films and built a team of animators. So without further ado, let's jump in. Hello, Keika. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to chat. Thanks for coming on. Let's just kick things off. So, as far as I understand, you were in the tech world, and then you decided to break out into animation. What is that? Can you give some background on why and how you made this decision?
Oh, actually, I started out in animation. I went to school and studied 2D animation. I was going to be a 2D animator, but then I got hired at EA as a production coordinator,
Oh.
and that's how I got into games.
Oh wait, what is it like studying 2D animation and then because production coordinator, you're not animating at all. You're like making sure everybody's on time. You're working with the producers and the directors and all the other people.
Yeah.
How did that feel like, studying 2D animation and then not not getting that as a job right away?
That's a great question because I really loved animating and drawing and being creative. I also loved bringing a team together
Sure.
and helping them create. So when I got to EA and I helped artists create, I realized there was another passion inside me. And so I accepted the role as a production coordinator and I never looked back. I stayed on the path of being in production.
So, okay, so then at what point did you say, I want to merge my production coordination skills and bringing people together and my love for 2D hand-drawn animation and start your own studio?
Um, so, uh, wow. Ever since I was little, so it all started when I was little. When I was 7 years old, I saw my first Disney animated film, which was Cinderella. And I loved that film to death, where I would take scenes of that film and try to draw it frame by frame.
Oh my goodness, as a
Yeah,
seven-year-old.
when I, as a 7 year old.
So you totally
Um,
understood how animation worked like at a very young age.
Yeah, I did. So so I was obsessed with it. So then as I was drawing it, I realized, well, how does it come together? How do people work together? Like I actually thought about that. And I learned about Walt Disney and I thought, wow, Walt Disney seems like a really awesome person. And I learned more about Walt Disney and I realized, you know what? I want to be Walt Disney. I actually want to run a studio. So it all started then. And I thought, I want to learn the craft first. I want to actually draw. I want to be an animator
Wow.
and understand artists first. So I thought, okay, first I'll understand artists, first I'll understand their process, and then I'll think about how to help them and manage them. And that's how I got into production. And so I did the producing role for quite some time at EA, at DreamWorks, at Zynga, and some other companies. And after that, I left the corporate world and decided to finally make my own short film and start Grayscale Animation.
Wow. Okay, there's a lot I want to talk about there. First of all, I heard you broke the VHS tape of Cinderella. You played it so many times. But how did you draw frame by frame? Were you just pressing pause really fast and then
Yes, I did.
oh my
Yes, I did.
goodness. Do you still have those frames? Like now that you have the capability of like putting them all together, can you play back that animation and see what it looked like?
I
Oh no.
don't. Yeah.
This is hilarious. I've never heard of somebody doing this before. Usually people are like, I watched Disney and it was magic. And then when I was older, I realized it was animation. But okay, so you told me that you from a very young age wanted to understand animators and all these like very complex I guess like thoughts that people don't usually have until they're in the industry or close to entering the industry. But it sounds like you had these dreams and aspirations from a very young kid. Were your parents supportive of this? Like, they saw you drawing like Cinderella over and over and over again, and they were like, "Yeah, go to animation school and learn 2D animation." Like, how did that go?
Yeah, fortunately, I had parents who were very supportive of the arts,
Yeah.
and they did their best to put me in as many art classes as they could find and
Ah,
could afford, and programs that were there was this one program where you mail in a drawing that you find in a magazine. Like you have to copy a drawing in a magazine and then you mail it in, and they send a salesman to your house and say, "Hey, you drew this really well. Why don't you sign up for our program?" And so
what?
they signed me up for the program, and I did art classes via mail and would get critiques by a teacher via mail. It was really funny.
Wow, what do you remember what this is called? I've literally never heard of this, and it actually sounds like
No,
really useful.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was a pretty popular art program back in the 80s. But it was really funny. Um, but I remember that. And my when we moved to the Bay Area when I was like 9, there was a local art center that my parents would put me in different art classes there. And by the time I was about to go to college, they wanted me to go to an art focused college. So yeah, they were
Wow,
very supportive.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm wondering, like, how did that feel knowing? Because I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't have the support of going to college, so it's like a big risk, and they have to like really convince their family and other support contacts and stuff. Did you did you like did you ever feel like you were taking a big risk getting into animation and art, or it just kind of felt like maybe more natural that you were pursuing this?
It felt natural to me. I always just felt like it was meant to be. And when I was in high school, my dad told me he was proud of me that I was going to become an animator because he confessed to me that that's what his father and he wanted to be
Oh my
when they grew
goodness.
up.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's have you
yeah.
so now that you are an animator, how does that conversation go with him?
He is super proud. He is proud beyond belief. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations. I think that's awesome. I want to ask you, you said you quit your job in production and started Grayscale. Why did you quit your job? Why couldn't you work still full time and do a studio in your spare time, or work part time, and like why did you decide to quit?
I wanted to put my focus on the business. Um, but I do want to say that I did work part-time during the productions of my short films so I could fund it. Um, because half of the film was self-funded by me, through those part-time jobs and through those contract jobs. So I was still working, but other gigs, you know. Um, but they weren't my like tech jobs or anything like that. But I did leave the tech world in order to do this because it was my dream, and I wanted to take the risk and finally do it, um, because I felt like it was the right time. It
Yeah.
was I had the experience of working in the bigger studios and understanding how things worked. And I had the network to tap into for resources or people that I could ask for help.
I mean, congratulations. That's a big risk. It's reminding me, I was in the business world and I faced something similar. And I also had this like burning like uh candle, I guess, maybe where I was like, I have to do this now or the flame's gonna like go out. So like,
Mm-hmm.
I had savings. My company was just sold, not my company, the company I worked for was just sold to a company in the States. So the culture was drastically changing. I was applying to Sheridan and I got in, and like I had all these like factors that gave me like life clues and hints that like you have to do this now because it's like the
Mm-hmm.
right time. But also I had like safety net and like a little bit of security. So if things didn't go well, I could, maybe jump back into the business world or rely on my savings for a time. Like it sounds like you had something similar, I guess. It's just, I know that quitting your job is just like a big drastic thing. So what gave you, and you said you had contacts and whatnot. Was that what gave you the confidence to really say like, now's the time? And if I don't do this, like, I'm not going to do it.
I think, yeah, I think just my sense of, I think I was just thinking, I have to do it now or else I'm going to regret it.
Oh,
And the regret would have been really, uh, you just don't want to regret not taking a chance on fulfilling your dreams.
so tell me about like day one of you quit your job and now you have this, you want to start this studio. Like, how did you move your goal forward to the point that you had a team and you had, funds and you had an idea and like, because there's a lot of steps in between, and building a business, especially an animation studio, is incredibly difficult. So can you take me through the steps that you took to get there?
Yeah, it felt very organic.
That's good.
So after I quit my job, I took a little break, and during the break, I started drawing again, and which I hadn't done in a while, and I started drawing a boy and a cat.
So you didn't
And
even have an idea when you were like, I'm going to start a studio. You're just like, I'll figure it out.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I just started drawing a boy and a cat, and I kept drawing this boy and cat over and over. And I was like, huh, this would make a really cute cartoon. And then, and this boy and cat were based off my son and our cat. And I thought of, oh, wouldn't this story be cute if, and then I created a script. And then I thought, oh man, I would really love to see a storyboard of the script. And so I reached out to a friend at DreamWorks and I asked her, do you know anybody who could help me with this? And she said, oh, I know someone great. So then she connected me with somebody and who happened to be free at the time and said, yeah, I'll help you out. So then, like I said, it happened organically. And then I thought, oh, shoot, maybe I should start something. And then I started assembling a team. And then I thought, okay, well, my drawings are doodles. So I'm going to get somebody to help me finalize character designs. So then I started reaching out to character design friends. And then they were like, oh, this is a great idea. Yeah, I'll help you. And then the team just started forming. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start my animation studio.
Wow.
And then Grayscale started.
I mean, it sounds like you're putting your production coordination skills to use to make this happen, and I love that it happened organically. I'm curious, animation can be really expensive, and especially if you're just kind of exploring an idea versus like you have a surefire plan. How did you manage the finances of this film. So many people out there are trying to create short films and bring in their friends, and the price
Mhm.
can rack up, et cetera, et cetera. So how did you manage? You didn't have a full-time job anymore. You were taking gigs and contracts, you said.
Yeah.
Like, how did you manage supporting yourself and then also self-funding the film and paying all the artists?
So Odd Dog was mostly funded through Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So at first, I had funds saved up um, from my previous job. So I was using some of my savings. And luckily, my friends were very generous and not charging me their full price. And so I was able to, get help from there. Um, and also, I was lucky, and I'm lucky enough where I have an amazing husband who takes care of the family expenses and everything. So I can take care of my filmmaking. So God bless him. Um, and so with my savings, the Kickstarter funds, and my friends being generous with their rates, I was able to make my first film, Odd Dog.
Do you want, I think that's incredible. Do you want to give like in a little bit of overview of just for people who haven't seen Odd Dog? I know we talked about, it's a boy who you see your son with and a dog, but maybe you could just give a little bit of an overview of what the film is like.
Oh, so the film is about a boy who really wants a dog, and his mom will only allow him to have a cat. And the boy meets a cat that acts like a dog. So it's the perfect companion. And the film is in black and white, and it's non-dialogue, and it's all hand drawn. And you watch it to see whether or not the boy accepts the cat as his man's best friend.
Yes, and you've received quite some success for this film online too. I think the YouTube is at 500,000 views. Did you and you've got it, it's done the festival circuit, et cetera, et cetera. Did you anticipate, like, what was the goal of producing this film? So you're like, I want to start an animation studio, I want to create a film. Like, what was the overall goal that you were hoping with this first film? Like, because there's many things, you could go for financial success, you could go for awards and accolades, you could use it towards a portfolio to build up your own personal work or whatnot. So like, what was the purpose of creating this film in the first place, and what would you consider success before it all happened?
My goal was definitely to, well, first off, to create a short.
Yeah.
I think if anything, people say, "Oh, I'm going to make a short," and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And like, I just wanted to do it as a life goal, bucket list thing. And so it happened, right? And I was pleasantly surprised at how much people loved it, and and I'm pleasantly surprised at the amount of people that have seen it on YouTube, and the nice comments that it gets, um, and how it makes people feel good. So but my ultimate goal was to, yes, build a portfolio for Grayscale, show people that we make quality, heartfelt films. And ultimately, I would like to see Odd Dog become a series.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah.
okay, I have questions on that, but also I just want to chat like maybe a little bit about the Kickstarter, because Kickstarters don't always get funded. I know a couple of short films that started a Kickstarter and didn't receive their funding for animation. So was there anything that you did specifically that got you over the edge of the goal you were looking for?
I definitely did my research where I looked at other successful animated film Kickstarters,
Yeah.
and I looked at like what made them successful. Sometimes I would reach out to those Kickstarter um, people and ask them like for advice. And some would write back and let me know what helped them and what didn't. Um, Rewards, the different types of rewards definitely help. And I was able to get advisors on my Kickstarter, like really famous advisors, and I think that helped as well. Um, I think already having some good artwork helped to show that the film is already in progress and that you're on your way to, you're gonna execute it, you know, that give people the faith that you're going to finish it. Um, I think that helps. And it also helps to uh, set your goal at a um, realistic level. Um, a lot of people set it as like really high, but I set it at a level where I was like, okay, if I make this goal, I can still make it happen.
Yeah.
And I was able to reach that goal, and was able to still make Odd Dog with the
Yeah.
amount of money that I received.
Amazing. So, I also know you're producing a new film, Oren's Way. You know, I've seen shots from it, and you know, it looks amazing. And you also got a successful Kickstarter, et cetera, et cetera. From Odd Dog, did the momentum of that film and the online, like the festival circuit and like the online success of it, lead to a more smoother experience with creating your next film? Like, do you have like, you know, more followers now, more people who are donating, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, Orange Way actually got done in May.
Oh,
So it's already in the festival circuit. But yeah, I learned so much from Odd Dog that Oren's Way was a much smoother production. And I, of course, learned a lot more from Oren's Way because it was a more complex production than
yeah.
Odd Dog and a bigger production team. And I'd say it, yeah, it was a monster compared to Odd Dog.
Wow. I mean, just from what I've seen, it definitely looks like it, especially because you included color instead of just black and white.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wondering, okay, you said you want Odd Dog to be a series, and I'm assuming you have more grand plans for Grayscale Animation. How would you accomplish that? Are you trying to use what you've already created to go to like studios and get funding for a fully produced series, or would you sell the IP to a studio, or like, you know, what are the plans overall for Grayscale Animation if you keep creating shorts like this?
Mm, Ideally, I would love to keep the IP. I would love to make the series myself, but I'm open to selling the IP to a bigger network and having, I just want to see it made.
Yeah.
I think it's an awesome idea, and I think a lot of kids love it. And I would love to see those characters just continue their journey.
That makes a lot of sense. Do do you have more projects that you're working on now? Like, I'm just wondering how large Grayscale Animation has become since you started, I think, Odd Dog in what, 2017? Is that right?
Yeah, 2017. Yeah.
So it's been quite a few
We're
years since
yeah,
then.
yeah, it has. We're working on a third film that hasn't been announced yet, and a couple other projects that we'll probably announce later on this year.
Nice. So has your I'm just curious, has your business model overall changed from the original, you know, Odd Dog was self-funded and Kickstarter and you had a small team. Do you now have people working full time, or do you have other funding routes or investors? Or I'm just curious on how how you've grown the company over the last 6 years, I guess.
Yeah, we're actually changing our funding route this year. Been working with business advisors and consultants. So
Wow.
things are changing.
And are you still working part-time in the production world yourself?
No,
So you're
I'm full time
full-time
in
on,
Grayscale.
wow, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels great. This is a dream come true. I, it's stressful owning your own business, but I love it so much that the love just takes over the stress.
That's
Yeah.
amazing to hear. I mean, there's a lot, right? I mean, there's a lot, I guess, of responsibilities and whatnot riding on just you alone, I'm assuming, because this is your
Mm.
business and your stories, et cetera, et cetera. What would you say, like looking back to that moment where you quit your past job till now, what has really carried you through and made you, like you said, there's a lot of stresses, but there's a lot of love for it. But what is, when times are tough and like things are not going well, or you're in the thick of it, or like what has carried you through and helped you persevere up until this point and make it, keep growing Grayscale Animation?
I'd say the people around me, my family and my crew. I keep telling myself who I'm doing this for. Um, I couldn't have done this without my husband and my son, who are always cheering me on, and my crew. Like I'm constantly thinking, this film has to be done. It has to be successful because my crew is working so hard on it, and I have to work my butt off to make sure it gets done and it gets into all these festivals and people see it, and yeah, I just that is what keeps me going.
I I think that's amazing, and that makes a lot of sense, and it even ties into how you have a love for bringing people together. Are you also animating yourself on your films too now, or
No, I'm not. I can't. No,
there's no shots where you're like, I really want to do this, so I'm going to take this over myself?
no,
That's fair. That's
no.
fair. I also wanted to ask you about the team you built because it seems like you've got quite a diverse crew from all around the world. How have you built your animation team, and how have you gotten all these connections and whatnot?
Oh God, it's like a different story for each one.
Yeah.
Some of them came from like San Jose State. They were recommendations from there, and San Jose State's a great school for animation. They have very talented students, and uh, yeah, I'm so thankful to them. And some of them I find on social media. I'll see their work and I'll be like, wow, this person's really good. And I'll reach out to them, like kind of cold email them and just be like, I really love your work. Do you want to work on my film? um, some of them, like I've known for years or something, and I'll just, like I say, reach out and say, hey, I'm working on this film. Would you be interested in helping out for a couple months?
Yeah.
Um, it's really just about asking and pitching my idea and seeing if they'd be up for working on something that is I'm really passionate about. And I think that's what shows is that as long as you're passionate about what you're working on and what you're asking for help on, it really shows. And then the people who work on it too, like really love it themselves.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for managing so many different people from so many different places? I mean, like you're hitting deadlines, you have to give direction, you have to pass off things. I'm sure you have a whole pipeline in place covering multiple different programs, and somebody has to composite animation from different people and different programs. Do you have any tips for managing all this? Like it sounds like a crazy amount of work to me.
Yeah. So people for the people that were in the United States, we had a weekly meeting to weekly dailies kind of meeting for animators, and we had a Slack channel for people internationally. And if we ever had to meet up on video call, that was necessary. We did, and then there was also I would record video if necessary for like video reference on shots. that was really helpful. And there was just constant communication. Uh, we used programs like Basecamp and Google Sheets. Um, just I had a wonderful producer who would also over communicate with the artists and make sure that they got all the notes that they needed for each shot. Uh, yeah, so it was just a lot of over communicating.
That sounds like a good strategy. Maybe as like a final topic, like, if somebody's listening and they're, they have production skills, they have animation skills, they have artist friends, and they're not quite ready to take the leap, but they really want to, create a short film with a team or start a studio or something like that. What would you say what would your advice be for them to have in place to really make it successful if they do take the plunge, based on your experience?
Don't look at it as one huge task because you'll get overwhelmed. Take baby steps. And when you take those baby steps, you'll be surprised at how much you get done. And then you'll be surprised when you cross that finish line.
Yeah.
Um, People tend to look at the project as a whole and they get scared and they don't even start. And for me, like when I just started the film Odd Dog and I just kept going, the momentum just kept going and going until the film was done. And I was like, whoa, it's done. Oh my gosh. And I had my film. So that's the advice I would give people who have always wanted to make their own film is to just take it one step at a time.
I also think it's interesting that you didn't have like an idea before you started the studio, and like, I've had this idea stewing for years and years and I really want to make it, and now you're making it. You kind of let it come to you, and you said you were just drawing and you found something that you thought was really interesting. Have you also had the experience where you've had an idea and you've tried to push it and it hasn't organically happened?
No, I think I try to have ideas organically happen. Oren's way happened that way too.
Hmm.
When Odd Dog was just about to wrap, I started drawing a princess. The princess just started appearing on my paper, and I was like, who is this? And then I started drawing her more and more until she finally formed into this braided, red-headed braided princess. And I was like, okay, I gotta find out who this person is. And then she turned into Oren, and that's how
Wow.
Oren became. Yeah.
Okay, I like this. I like this. And now the second one is finished too. I think that's amazing. As we're wrapping up, I'm wondering, is there anything that you wanted to still share that we didn't talk about? I mean, we talked about kind of your journey, how you started from drawing Cinderella over and over and over again to going to school to getting into production, using those skills to found your own studio, and then making two short films, one which has already gotten massive online success and the other one that is now in the festival circuit. Is there anything that you wanted to still share we didn't talk about?
um, I just wanted to say that I'm so thankful to be doing this, and I'm thankful to my crew. Like I really could not have done this without them, and I feel so blessed. I I feel so blessed to meet all these people, and thank you, Terry, for having me on your podcast. This was really amazing.
Oh, of course. I love hearing and uncovering stories like yours. I think it is absolutely amazing. And I've seen Odd Dog, and it's super cute and super fun, and I can't wait to see Orange Way as well as the next stuff. And I think it's also really great that you're pushing for 2D animation and supporting traditional animation artists when it's so it's so hard to do and find projects like that. And literally every animation artist wants to work on stuff like that. But then the TV world and the film world, they want, the puppet rigged animation, the 3D animation. So I think it's fantastic that you're also keeping this alive too.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. And if you're listening and you want to reach out to Keika or follow Greyscale Animation and see what projects she's coming up with next, I'm going to include their website, which is grayscaleanimation.com, as well as their Instagram and Twitter, which both go under Greyscale Animation. And that's all for now. So thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Willem Mendo and the graphics by Luhan Wang. I encourage you to look them up if you've enjoyed their work.